Good day, we are the Group 2, and we will represent the biographical approach of Emily Dickinson by the book of Cynthia Wolff. So without further ado, let's jump to the next video.
Good day, I am here to read to you the summary of the biography of Emily Dickinson, which is written by Cynthia Griffin Wolff. Cynthia Griffin Wolff's 1988 book Emily Dickinson is a literary biography detailing the relationship between Dickinson's life and her poetry. Wolff offers fascinating interpretations of the poems as well as the time in which they are created, linking the poet to the influences of the world around her. Writing a biography of the New England writer remains a challenging undertaking as so many myths continue to surround her, partly because of the seeming starkness of her personal life, which leads to much curiosity. Never married, Emily Dickinson preferred to spend most of her time at her home in Amherst, Massachusetts, rarely leaving. Her life seemed to be ordinary in the extreme, aside from the fact that over the course of it she produced upwards of 1,775 poems. Considered one of the most and the greatest poets to have lived in America, her voice helped to define American poetry and literature. Throughout the book, Wolff goes to great lengths to debunk some of the myths surrounding this figure and to give a more accurate representation of her life. Wolff writes that Dickinson was an active and outgoing teenager who formed friendships with many girls and boys of her age. Amherst was an intellectual center, and the Dickinson home in particular served as a meeting place for all kinds of brilliant minds. Therefore, she did not grow up in an isolation and was actually quite well socialized. Although she had some of the typical strains in the relationship with her parents, she remained a devoted daughter who spent many years nursing her mother while she was in a poor health. Wolff described Dickinson as humorous, witty, and playful with a genuine affection for children, although she never had any of her own. She had an affectionate relationship with her niece, Mattie. Emily's grandfather, Samuel Fowler Dickinson, was the founder of Amherst College, making her family very influential within the community. He was responsible for a period of religious revival in town, and Emily grew up with a constant pressure of religious conversion. Wolff writes that Emily rejected this pressure, as well as other social pressures, in order to create herself a world in which she could survive and produce her own as a poet. Wolff spends a lot of time detailing the circumstances of the New England in which Emily Dickinson grew up, in order to give the reader a better understanding of the writer's poetic disposition. She writes that death was a constant reality of this time, and the only a fraction of the population lived beyond childhood. Infant mortality rates were high, and death by consumption was common. The process surrounding burial and death was elaborate and institutionalized. Surrounded by death, it is no wonder that the poet ruminated on its theme pervasively in her artistic work. Women's work included tending to the sick and the dying, and many women died in childbirth due to the carelessness. Dickinson's own mother was confined to their home while her husband pursued his dreams of becoming a politician. Frequently traveling to neighboring cities, only 6 of Dickinson's poems were published while she was alive, and Wolff suggests that this is because women were so limited within the sphere of the household at the time. Anti-feminist sentiments were high. Dickinson also stood in stark opposition of the wave of Christianity that swept over her town, eventually refusing to attend church altogether. Wolff writes that Dickinson was still a believer and had faith, yet she opposed widespread conformity and refused to convert when everyone else was doing so. Strong-willed, she understood her own principles. Wolff suggests that this rejection of Christianity allowed Dickinson to make room for her own artistic endeavors. She sought to liberate herself by rejecting traditional patterns of behavior, opting to carve out her own life path. Wolff discusses the characteristic that defined Dickinson's poetry, stating that as a woman, she was preoccupied with the visual, needing to see something in order to believe it was real. This translated into the vivid description and rich imagery that defined her writing. She also made use of various voices of characters, using whichever best suited the topic at hand. At times, she would write from the perspective of a child, a student, a lover, or a housewife. Dickinson had relationships with many men, though they seemed mostly founded on a mutual interest in literary pursuits. With Judge Otis Phillips Lord, a widower, she enjoyed a passionate relationship, though she declined his advances towards marriage for reasons that remain unknown. He died shortly.
What aspects of the author's personal life are relevant to this story? Cynthia Griffin Wolff is a literary scholar known for her biography of Emily Dickinson. Wolff's exploration of Dickinson's life into the poet's relationship, psychological struggles, and societal context. Her work is significant in shedding light on personal and cultural factors that influence Dickinson's poetry. Wolff's own background and perspective contribute to the interpretative lens through which she examines Dickinson's lives and works, offering readers insights into the intricate connection between a biographer's personal perspective and the subject's story. Which of the author's stated beliefs are reflected in the work? Cynthia Griffin Wolff as a biographer doesn't necessarily include her personal beliefs into the narrative in the same way an author might to do in a work of fiction. Instead, she will provide a comprehensive and well-researched account of Dickinson's life. In biographies, the goal is to present an objective and factual evidences rather than express personal beliefs, allowing readers to form their own understanding of the subject based on the evidence provided.
Question C. Does the rights challenge or support the values of the contemporaries? Answer. The goal of Cynthia Griffin Wolff's biography of Emily Dickinson is not necessarily to refute or uphold the beliefs of her contemporaries. Instead, its main goal is to comprehend and present Emily Dickinson's life and work. Dickinson's own distinctive and unconventional style of writing and living occasionally ran counter to the social mores of her day. Her solitary way of life, investigation of concepts like immorality and death, and unique literary voice set her apart from many of her contemporaries. Instead of actively opposing or defending the values of Dickinson's contemporaries, Wolff's biography probably seek to shed light on the distinctive of the the biography provides a background information on 19th century social and cultural custom to help readers comprehend the setting in which Dickinson lived and wrote their poems. What seem to be the author's major concerns? Do they reflect any of the writer's personal experiences? To answer, Cynthia Griffin Wolff's biography of Emily Dickinson primarily focuses on the life and work of the famous American poet Emily Dickinson. A major concern in the book include exploring Dickinson's exclusive lifestyle, her creative genius, her contribution to American literature, and her accomplished personality. Wolff delves into the impact of Dickinson's isolation on her writing and struggle to balance her desire for privacy with her desire to share her poetry. Wolff's concern in the biography did not appear to reflect her own personal experiences directly. She is a literary scholar and biographer, and her work is more centered on understanding and interpreting the life and art of Emily Dickinson. However, as with any biographer, some personal perspective and interpretation may influence the presentation of the subject's life, but this doesn't mean the Wolff concerns are primarily about herself and her personal experiences.
Do any of the events and the story correspond to events experienced by the author? Yes, some of the events and the story portrayed of a life correspond to events experienced by the author, Emily Dickinson. For example, in the story, Emily falls in love with a married man, Reverend Wordsworth. This is likely based on Dickinson's real-life relationship with Wordsworth, whom she met in 1855. Dickinson never married, and some scholars believe that her relationship with Wordsworth may have influenced her poetry. Cynthia Griffin Wolff's brilliant literary biography of Emily Dickinson is the first to unravel the intricate relationship between her life and her poetry. It is a vivid portrait of the poet and her times, as well as a fascinating interpretive study of the poems that will enable every reader to approach them with a new understanding and delight. Overall, the story provides a fictionalized account of Emily Dickinson's life that is based on real event. It is a way for the author to explore Dickinson's inner world and her struggle as a female artist in 19th century.
Certainly, Emily Dickinson's biography is rich with various individuals who played significant roles in her life. Several characters mentioned in her story correspond to real people. Each living is a distinct mark on a poet's life and work. One of the most prominent figures in Emily Dickinson's life was her father, Edward Dickinson, a prominent lawyer who influential figure in Amherst, Massachusetts. Greatly influenced Emily in intellectual growth. Her relationship with him shaped her views on religion, education, and society. Emily's mother, Emily Norcross Dickinson, while less involved in her daughter's intellectual pursuits, provided a nurturing environment and allowed Emily to explore her creativity in writing. Moreover, the relationship between Emily and her mentor, Thomas Mertworth Higginson, is a crucial aspect of her story. Dickinson was writer, critic, and prominent figure in abolitionist movement. Furthermore, Emily's reclusive lifestyle was intertwined with community Amherst where she lived. Her interactions with her neighbors are acquaintances, such as the various members of Dickinson's and Norcross families. provided glimpse into the societal norms and dynamics of her life. In conclusion, the characters within the biography of Emily Dickinson, including her family, friends, mentors, and contemporaries, all played crucial roles in shaping her life poetry.